We're back on Radio Row. I'm delighted to say that we're now joined by Doug Flutie, former NFL quarterback, and, well, all round. We spoke probably, I think, back in Houston, and just a really lovely bloke. So delighted to have you on, Doug. How are you doing?
Doing well. Things are great. Living in Florida, having fun, surfing every day, being a bum. So other than that, I guess the thing I'm promoting today would be Doug Flutie Maximum Football. It's something you go online at maxfootballgame.com. It's a download, and then also there's a hard copy available now, but as far as the units. Very customized game that you can pick your teams, pick your jerseys, your uniforms, the rules of the game. Sometimes you can play Canadian rules, you can play American rules, you can play college rules. It's really done well with the college crowd. This year came out and was jumping off the shelves.
I mean, it's perfect for you then as a Grey Cup champion, a Heisman Trophy winner, and a former NFL quarterback, a Pro Bowler, I think, as well.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Cover it all.
In all three. Absolutely beautiful. So you're in town, obviously, to talk about that, but how are you feeling about this game this weekend?
I'm excited. I love Mahomes. I watch him play, and he looks like a middle infielder in baseball. It doesn't matter the arm angle. You know, when you feel the ball, and if it's down here, if you're going to your right, going to the left, it doesn't matter. Don't set your feet. Just make the throw. Look somebody off, make a throw. And he legitimizes everything I tried to do when I play. It's like, see, you can do it that way, and it works.
That brings me on to my question, which is, does Doug Flutie watch the modern game and see Kyler Murray getting drafted first overall and think, you know, guys, I could have done this?
I mean, the shape that Doug's in, I wouldn't be that surprised if he couldn't get under center and still do it.
I tell you, I do think that way. I watch the style of the offenses, and I feel like, boy, I could probably thrive in these offenses. It's the style that I played when I played in Canada.
Yeah.
Wide open stuff, the zone read stuff, the RPOs of we did a lot of that stuff in the 90s in Canada. Just if the corner comes off, I'm throwing you the ball. I'll pull the ball here. I'm running on the edge. If he decides to come, I'll dump it to you. Run a fade route just in case it's all blitz, and I'll throw it. All that type of stuff we were doing up there. But yeah, I see these offenses and the athleticism at the quarterback position. When I started, by the end of my career, it was getting a little more acceptable to be an athlete and move around. But definitely early in my career, it was so frustrating. It was tight formations, 7-man protections, drop back and stand in there and get the tar kicked out of you and throw the ball up the field.
How many guys, particularly with the height question, how many guys do you think over the years the NFL have ended up missing out on? Because, you know, you think of someone like Graham Harrell, yourself, so many guys who had these spectacular college careers and were essentially written off at the NFL level before they'd even had a chance to show what they could do.
I probably just a handful, because especially now with training the way it is, some of the smaller guys have big arms. Yeah. Back when I played, I had a relatively big arm, especially for my size, but there are a lot of the smaller quarterbacks that have success in college did not have the arm strength to get away with it in the NFL. But the athleticism, no doubt. You know, there's guys that were that athletic that could make plays and do things that didn't get an opportunity. But the key factor is the smaller guys, do they have that big-time arm? And a lot of them today really do.
Yeah, and the prime examples of that, I was just thinking of, he's not wrong, Kyler Murray, and then you think about like Russell Wilson, who a lot of people coming out, you know, he fell to the third round essentially because of what people saw as intangibles, what people saw as a size problem, and you'd probably, everyone's kicking themselves that he wasn't taken at the top of the draft.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a motivating factor for the individual. Well, look at Tom Brady. You know, everyone needs something that motivates them on a daily basis to try to prove somebody wrong, it sits with you. If you were slighted because of your size, that's what drove me to play 21 years. You know, I'm still trying to prove them wrong. I go out and play a flag football game every year, Super Bowl with a bunch of NFL guys, because I'm still trying to prove them, you know, and that's the way that's what motivates Tom, and that's what motivates guys when they drop in the draft, and, you know, you get a chip on your shoulder, it really keeps you driven.
We saw that with Lamar Jackson this year, didn't we? Where he fell to the end of the very first round. People said he couldn't throw, he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that, and man, he's starting to change the way that quarterbacks are perceived now as well.
When things are not handed to you, and you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle, and you finally break through, it's number one, it's much more rewarding, but number two, it keeps you motivated to be there. Drew Brees, when Drew came to San Diego, he was backing me up at first. Then they gave up on Drew, drafted Phillip Rivers. Then he got injured, and when he went to New Orleans, had to reinvent himself, and that's, you know, boom, there goes his career. That's what keeps him motivated and driven. Nothing was handed to them.
How do you overall reflect on your career? Because I can imagine, as you've mentioned, that is a frustration. But, you know, 3 Grey Cups, 3 Grey Cup MVPs, Heisman Trophy. You've achieved lots of things that most people never did.
You know, I'm not going to complain. I played 21 years, and I never imagined doing that. Made it to a Pro Bowl, had some very good years in the NFL, some great years in Canada, unbelievable memories and friendships you build over the years. Beyond my wildest dreams. But then you look back and you see the offenses of today and all, and you think, well, maybe it could have even been better. But you can't second guess. You just keep moving forward.
I have family in Vancouver, and I can't work out whether they'd be jealous that I was meeting you or still angry that you left them on Grey Cups elsewhere. I'm not going to lie.
You know what? The disappointment there was, in the second year I was in Vancouver, my brother just got released out of the NFL and came up, and we got to play 8 games together.
Wow.
Darren and I played 8 games together. He had like 900-ish yards in 8 games. And then he goes on to become a CFL Hall of Famer. But then I signed over in Calgary. I thought he would come over to Calgary the next year. We ended up never playing together again. And that's the one big frustration out of that whole, what happened in Vancouver, was that my brother and I only got to play that half a season together. And I really would have loved to have had the opportunity to play, you know, more.
Well, obviously, we've got a brother or someone from a pair of brothers in the game this weekend in Nick Bosa, and we've seen the Griffins in Seattle as well. From your family upbringing, what was it, do you think, that meant that you had 2 people who were successful enough to make it in professional sports?
First of all, when your brother's with you and you're side by side, it's you against the world. I mean, it was that way when we were little kids. We would take on the other neighborhoods. We played Little League together. And there's a comfort zone. We just played an adult baseball league, and my brother was at short and I was at second base, and he looks over, he says, God, it's so much more comfortable with you at second base than the other guy, because you think alike, you anticipate each other's moves, it's just to be able to get to that level together, it's rare, it's amazing if just one of you does it. And so it says a lot about the family. And in the Bosa family, John Bosa, the father, John and I played together at Boston College. And John was a top-round draft choice, had an opportunity to play, and then to see his boys do what they've done is just amazing. I'm sure he's a proud dad.
You also, I imagine your greatest achievement is making Bill Belichick smile on a sideline.
It's hard to do. That is hard to do.
Just that drop kick. I mean, it remains to me one of the most iconic moments.
Before we get his thoughts on it, Ollie Wilson, who's our play-by-play commentator, was at that game.
Was he?
And was like, what time are you getting Doug Flutie? It was like 10 a.m. He's like, I'm going to meet the Chiefs. He was desperate to be here to meet you because he was there as a young lad. Not that young, don't worry. But yeah, amazing moment.
It's really...
How much fun was that?
It was a lot of fun because we had planned on doing it a couple of weeks earlier. And I thought about it the whole game, and I was a nervous wreck. This is going to be the last play of my career. Okay, I got to live with this if I miss it. These are the things going through my head. The day we actually ended up doing it, we hadn't talked about it for 2 weeks, and I just happened to be standing next to Bill, and we were getting ready to score about 5 minutes ago, and he sees me, and as a reaction, you go, "Hey, we score here. You're kicking it." I didn't have time. We were already in the end zone. I didn't have time to get nervous. I ripped off the jacket. I'm 43 years old. I've been standing on the sideline for 3 hours. I'm stiff as a board. It's 25 degrees. To go out and do it, I didn't have time to think about it. Ran out, just did it. So I was glad it went that way rather than thinking about it the whole day.
You absolutely nailed it as well.
Yeah, exactly. What's hilarious about that is I remember Thomas Morstead, who was the guy who did the punt to kick off the second half for the Saints. They'd planned that 2 weeks earlier in the same sort of fashion. He'd been panicking about it, hadn't thought about it in the Super Bowl, and apparently Sean Payton literally came in at halftime, and as he walked past him, just went, "Oh yeah, by the way." And
it's the best way, because you don't have time to just go do it. And we're good enough athletes. If you don't let your head get in the way, you go execute. It's when you start getting Morstead was at SMU just after I made the extra point for the drop kick, right? And I get there, and he's a young kid, and the SID at SMU says, Doug, you got to meet our punter. He was really excited to meet you, blah, blah, blah. He used to play rugby. He drop kicks. He's got a show. I saw him hit an 80-yard drop kick.
Wow.
I mean, he's just got a beast of a leg, and you can hit the ball on the way up. And, you know, it was like shot out of a cannon. The height and the power, and it was – there's a spot in this game for especially punters to try on the last play of a half or a game, like a 75-yard field goal drop kick.
I don't understand why we don't see more free kicks. Like when you've there were at least 3 or 4 occasions I can think of in the last few seasons where I've just thought, it's the end of the half. You've just received it there. You could actually go for a free kick now. And most guys, without that protection in front of them, with the size of the guy's legs nowadays, they can hit it from 70 yards when they've not got to worry about.
They used to now they want the touchbacks, but they were backing the kickoff up to they couldn't back up far enough.
Yeah.
So these guys can kick it 75 yards, 80 yards.
If Morstead has ever told you that story, the best part of it is that he says, I went out with so much adrenaline, I did a few practice kickoffs, and I couldn't practice the onside, obviously we'd give it away. And he was saying I was so full of adrenaline, I was drilling them all the way at the back of the end zone, and apparently he turned to the punter on the other side and went, you might as well not bring the team out. This one's going out the back. That confidence is just unbelievable, unbelievable. You mentioned your feelings on Pat Mahomes for this weekend, but I think it is a game where there's going to be so much focus on the individual and what kind of special stuff he can do. So how do you deal with that pressure in that situation?
I think the key for me with dealing with pressure in big games and all that was to stay locked into your day-to-day routine and not try to block out the outside noise by doing the same preparation that you always do going into the game. Now, there's a build-up for Super Bowl that always happens. I say the number one thing, go out and get comfortable early. Don't lose the game on the first play. You know, I just told this story. I went to Calgary from Vancouver. I'm there for the first year. We're going to the Grey Cup. And the guys on the team are like coming up to me and go, just don't throw a pick six on the first play of the game, because that's happened the last 2 times they've gone to the Grey Cup. Just don't throw the interception for a pick six on the first play, right? So you can't win the game in the first drive, but you can sure lose the game.
I remember the first Super Bowl I covered was Denver Seattle, where they had the bad snap, and it felt like it just took the air completely out of the Broncos. And as much as I think Seattle were just always going to be the more dominant team on that day, it just
sets the tone. It puts you behind the 8 ball, especially. The way San Francisco plays, they're going to grind it out or attempt to grind it out. If you make those big mistakes early, if San Francisco were to get down by a couple of scores early, it's different from if Kansas City were to. I say this, and this is my approach mentally, but I don't know. When I went to Grey Cups, I was wheeling and dealing from play 1, and then I watched Tom Brady.
Big baller Doug Flutie.
So I watched Tom Brady, and I'm thinking, throw your safe completion, throw a wide receiver screen, little hitch route, slant, something conservative. Tom comes out and throws a deep comeback to the wide side of the field on the first play of the Super Bowl, from the pot. So, the guys, there are guys that just have that elite confidence and they don't care.
Love it. Doug, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you joining us. And once more, where can we find out about Maximum Football?
MaxFootballGame.com. It's Doug Flutie Maximum Football, but MaxFootballGame.com. You can download it online, and you can also get the hard unit.
I've got some time today, so I'm absolutely going to be looking into getting it.
I knew very little about it when they first came to me with this idea and all, and it wasn't even out yet. And I'd go do my interviews for college kids doing college games, and that's all they asked me about because they were all fired. It's got great ratings online, all that stuff. So they knew about it before I did.
I'm going to buy this.
There you go. I'm all over it. Doug, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys.